Good morning, people. Now, I wasn't here on the weekend. I came back and there was some very interesting news. If you're not aware about the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac government intervention, and I'll go through that just in a second. Very interesting times, very important with what's happening with the market as well. But at the moment, we are seeing the Dow. The Dow's actually climbed again. Now, last night the Dow actually went up 290 points, which was roughly 2.5%, back to 11.5 again. Now a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the market's going back up. The market's going back up. Oh, it's turning now. It's turning now. This is the turn." Okay, let's take it easy for a second. Let's work this out. I've got a Dow on about a 6 monthly chart. You'll see it down on the Dow that's had that nice run down, and then there's this sort of curvature pattern here. Now, realistically, when the Dow came down on the Friday, well, actually came down on the Friday night quite considerably, and then, in about down here, I think it was about 11 o'clock, when the market was very weak, guess what happened? The government brought out the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac news, and the market shot right back up. But if you take a closer look, realistically, on a technical level, the market is still very, very negative. The reason why is because of this 3 points. You've got a higher point here just above where the market turned again down at about near the 12, I think it was just under the 12,000 mark. Next point there is a lot lower, and then again last night the close at 11,510, it's still lower again. Now, for me, realistically, I doubt that the market can get back up around this 12,000 level again. We will have to see about that. But the market is still highly negative. The Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac news is still affecting the market and what is happening. Okay, next up, the Fannie Mae and the Freddie Mac news for me is a real devastating effect. I really feel for some of the people, not only that live in the United States, that have maybe one house, two houses, maybe a few houses with loans in debt, and it's going to be a really rough time. You understand now that when I said America will go into severe recession, then into a depression, these are the things that are leading up to that effect. And like I said, that they bring out all this news on the weekend. Asia actually crashed majorly on the Friday. Last Friday, as I was watching the market and trading the market came down hard. On the weekend, they brought out the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac news. Guess what happened? The Asian market rallied, the European market rallied, and the US went up 2.5%. Fancy that. Here is the news off the Bloomberg terminals on the weekend, September 8th, and it states, the government seizure of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac triggered what may be the biggest settlement of credit default swaps in the market's decade-long history. Now, this is what I'm talking about. All these government tricks and little tactics that they're using, they're only going to make the market go up in the short term, and they're going to make it seem all la-di-da, when behind the scene they're doing this sort of thing. They're going away and they're getting help from the bank to actually pay off these big mortgage broking and mortgage facility loans off, and it can't happen. Bailing out these companies, how is it going to help your average Joe Blog on the street that has his house and he's really, really struggling? How's it going to help the taxpayers put money back into the credit crisis and things that are really, really, really going down the tube? And then you've got Henry Paulson that's out there saying, this is a really bad problem and I'm losing sleep. Losing sleep, who cares? You're going to be out of that position in the next 6 months. You couldn't give a stuff. They couldn't give a stuff. They're just getting it all out of the road and seeming it like it's not their problem, handing it on to whoever gets in. I still think Obama will probably make the presidency, and they're handing it to him. When Obama spoke the other day, all he really said is what the media said. There's nothing really wholesome about how he is going to personally fix the credit crisis on into 2009 when he becomes a president. But here's the really sad thing, and I mean this is absolutely catastrophic. The reason being is America is probably now one of the worst debtor nations. But what they've done, literally overnight, if the actual government will tell you the true on the books debt of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, is it's a huge amount of debt that they owe. Now they're in a lot of trouble, and by the government intervention and helping out these two companies, guess what? The US has nearly just doubled, yes, I said doubled its debt, literally almost overnight. Double debt. That's what you're dealing with. And the market goes up on this sort of news. Do you think the market's going to continue up when the truth of the matter is to be revealed? Now, they're not saying how much debt these two companies are in. They're just saying the government's going to intervene and help them out. But the truth of the matter being, what is really the most important bit of the matter is how much money needs to be compensated for. And it could be anyone's debt. It could be a small amount, it could be a large amount, but if you average it all out, there's a lot of analysts out there saying it's in the vicinity of $5 to $6 trillion if you actually take all the lies out and give a straightforward answer. And it's just like this socialism game. It's all the big boys bailing out the big boys. People have been emailing saying, why is the market going up and the commodities crashing, yada yada yada. Well, the reason being is they're bailing out all the banks. You have a look at some of the bank stocks. I saw one individual bank stock gone up like 30% in 1 week. The reason being, it's being bailed out. So of course, if there's going to be more of this government intervention and bailing out and helping the banking facilities and mortgage facilities, especially bigger ones like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, of course you're going to see a huge rallies in the financial industries or the financial indexes and some of the major banks. It's basically a welfare for the rich. Now here's an interesting fact too. You've got the US government, you've got the UK government, you've got the European government, and they're trying to get people at the moment in a downward market to buy a house. And it's no doubt now everyone knows what's going on in the credit crisis, the subprime, and what's happening to house prices. Do you think house prices are going to go up in the next 6 to 12 months? Of course not. Yet they're not doing anything, and they're basically just still telling people you need to get back in to buy a house and we'll help you out if you need it. Well, I can't really see that being a very ethical thing when we can determine what's going to happen on both the equities market and the housing market leading on into 2009. And here's the other thing to go along with that now that there is this idiotic government intervention, it's going to make it harder and harder for you to go to someone like the big Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and actually apply for a loan and get the loan. Do you think this is going to feed in new mortgage money into the market? Of course not. There's not going to be less and less money out there to claim for your mortgage loans. So hopefully that does help you out a little bit. You see how the government on the surface make things look very inept, very, very controlled. It's kind of like they're saying, look people, okay, it's not that bad, it's controlled, we're fixing the problem, but not short term. It's short term. You have to remember that the equities market will continue into 2009, 2010. So too with the mortgage market and the housing industry. And I understand why people out there are saying, oh, this isn't going to happen, it's not going to be okay, the economy always recovers. Well, you're dealing with some of the worst financial crisis that we have faced in pretty much all of history. That's how bad it really is. So I really feel for America at the moment. I know they're going to go through a rough time. I feel for some of the people that are honest and hardworking and do make their money and go out and pay their mortgage. But it's going to be a rough time. You understand why America will go into a depression now. It's just bad turning to worse. So I know it seems a little bit pessimistic, but in truthful honesty, that's the way I talk and that's the way I bring the truth. So I'd love to know your opinion. Please write your comments below. Have a great day.